Okay, so this latest episode of The White Lotus, I think we can both agree it's kind of weird. I mean, incest? I really think people are going to like it better if we just don't talk about that subject. Oh, I know. I mean, this is America. We don't do that kind of thing here. So then we're agreeing. We're not going to talk about the weird brothers. Absolutely. Let's ignore that altogether. I knew you could be reasonable. Catch you in the end. You're pretty reasonable, too. Oh, crap. I think is this thing on? Go ahead and ignore that. He was just trying to make sure we're both on the same page because this episode, wow, it had some pretty intense moments. Although I will say it was all quite hilarious. We now have only 2 episodes left in the 3rd season of The White Lotus. Things are really picking up now, and we had some truly crazy moments in this episode. Let's dig into the noteworthy moments from episode 6 of The White Lotus season 3. Right from the very beginning of this episode, Mike White keeps teasing us with the possibility of Tim killing himself. I said in my video last week that I was actually looking forward to Tim doing this because I think it sticks in line with his character. But when this scene happened and it seemed like he truly had killed himself, I was like, damn, that's kind of a bummer. Just look how upset Victoria and Piper are, and what's that gonna do to his family? They're not gonna get any answers. Luckily, it turned out to be a dream. Tim is fine. But what isn't a dream is the stuff that Saxon is remembering about the night on the yacht with him and Lockie. Many of us have probably had that night where we had one too many drinks, you wake up and you're thinking, my head is pounding. What exactly happened last night? And I'm not really sure exactly what drugs they took, but it seems like it hit quite hard. My money is on Molly though. But this is obviously going to be one of the biggest talking points of this episode by far, because we finally had that brotherly incest that so many people were thinking was gonna happen right from the first episode of this season. And when we started getting glimpses of this scene, I don't know about you guys, but I felt a little dirty, but in a great White Lotus kind of way. Hey, you agreed not to talk about the incest. We need to get clicks, man. We need clicks. This is gonna sell. Mike White sure knows how to tap into dark humor, and that is exactly how this whole event is played off. Because at first, both brothers don't really seem to remember what happened, but as the episode plays out and the hangover wears off, Saxon starts to get glimpses of what happened, and as expected, he seems quite disturbed by it. In fact, it seems like he's trying to deny to himself that it even happened at all. He figures if I can convince myself it didn't happen, then it didn't happen. But that fantasy comes crashing down when Chloe says to him by the pool that your brother jerked you off.
I didn't force him to jerk you off.
And the look on Chelsea's face when she hears this was priceless. People complain about this girl's teeth, but I think she is a beautiful woman and she has expressions that are just perfect. And this is one of them. The way she reacted. Was it disgust? Saxon is someone that has been annoying me since episode 1. It's not that I don't like Patrick Schwarzenegger. I think he's doing an awesome job. It's the Saxon as a person. He comes off so toxic. He's just somebody who thinks that everybody likes him, and that is such a disgusting and unattractive quality. And Chelsea, she can see right through him. She sees that he is a narcissistic, hollow, soulless man. And when she says that you're a soulless person, he feels genuinely shocked and just hit hard by this because he thinks, wow. And I think part of his reaction to her saying this to him is that he might somewhat agree with her. He clearly is trying to fill some kind of an empty void. That's why he acts so overconfident, so cocky, so condescending and narcissistic all the time. He's trying to convince himself that he's more than he is. Lockie doesn't really start remembering what happened on the yacht until a bit later in this episode when he is at the monk temple with Piper meditating. So let's jump over to that scene. Last week we saw Piper tell Victoria that she intends to stay in Thailand for a year and live with the monks. And as expected, Victoria is totally upset by this idea. This is a 1% woman who is truly out of touch with reality. Because true reality is not exorbitant wealth. Not for most people. True reality is deciding how many extra shifts do I need to work to be able to afford to take my family on this vacation? Can we even go on this vacation? If we go on this vacation, can we afford that new car that we wanted to buy? Can we pay our mortgage? Can we buy food? That is true reality. And Victoria and this Ratliff family, they are not used to that at all. And you can tell that Victoria especially is guilty of being so out of touch. So when Victoria sees just how bare bones the lifestyle is with these monks, she's thinking there's just no way Piper is going to be able to do this. This is grim living and she's not going to be able to. So she decides, hey Piper, here's an idea. You stay one night here, and if you decide after that one night that you want to stay and live with these monks in this barren conditions, then I will go ahead and support you. She's really betting on Piper not being able to, but I really think that Piper can do it. I don't think she connects to this exorbitant wealth that Victoria does. Tim ends up speaking to the head monk, and I thought this was a truly awesome and very touching scene. I was really into the way this guy explained life and death. It was a beautiful metaphor, and I so hope it's true. The idea of us being born and we are kind of like a drop of water coming out of the sea, and as we get older, we start going back into the sea, eventually to join back up to the source, going back to where we first came from, our energy, our being. That's a really peaceful idea. He really makes death sound like kind of a homecoming, and I think Tim wanted to hear that because he is so close to taking his own life. Not only his, it seems, because he finds out later on in this episode that Victoria, she says that she is so into this wealthy lifestyle. She's so used to having all these creature comforts that she would rather die at the idea of living in a poverty world. And since Tim knows that things are not looking good for them, they are probably going to be living in extreme poverty when they get back to America. He's now contemplating, okay, she wants to die. I guess I'm gonna have to take her out with me. But jumping back over really quick to Piper and Lockie, Lockie is meditating with her in that temple, and that is when he starts to remember just what happened. And damn, what an eye-opener. Maybe meditation is not for everybody, especially if you jacked off your brother and you're hoping to just forget that ever happened. Hopping over to Belinda, her son is now at the White Lotus Resort, and it turns out he arrived a bit earlier than she expected, and it results in him seeing her in bed with Pornchai. I thought this was a really amusing scene, but what I really liked about it was the scene later on when they are at breakfast, and the son, Zion, he's not actually upset that he saw his mom in bed with a man. He actually is happy with her because he realizes, I want my mom to be happy, and adults need sex too. Your parents need to fuck. This was a great scene and a really good moment for Belinda to take a deep breath because she is actually starting to get quite nervous, and for damn good reason. Because Greg, who she knows is a possible killer, just invited her to his house for a party, and he says that they need to talk. That's not good. He went from pretending that he doesn't know who she is, what she's talking about, to now saying we need to talk. That's not good. Belinda knows it's not good, and things seem like they're about to be going down. But maybe things will work out for Belinda. Maybe he'll take some of that insane money that he got from plotting to kill Tanya and use it to buy her silence. Maybe he'll buy that spa that Tanya first suggested she would buy for her. We did see in this episode, Pornchai was talking about opening up a spa with her, so could that be what Greg does to silence her? Probably not. This is a man who did hire a bunch of gay dudes to kill his wife. You can probably plan on the worst, but I do like that idea a lot more for Belinda. It's pretty unclear what Greg is really up to, but he is up to something because he does end up inviting as well Saxon and Lockie after he confronts Chloe, and she basically off camera admits that she slept with the brothers. So Greg is trying to get the brothers that fucked his girlfriend to his place, Belinda, who knows he's a killer, to his place. What is he really up to, and what did he tell Chloe he needs her to do? Last week we saw Gaitak attempt to approach Tim about the gun he stole, only to chicken out and retreat once Tim said that he had no idea what he was talking about. I was extremely disappointed with Gaitak for not having a little bit more guts and being more forceful, because that is a gun. Tim had no right to take that gun. But luckily in this episode, Gaitak is being a bit more forceful. No, he doesn't approach Tim and confront him, but he sneaks into their place and gets that gun back, and I am so thrilled to see it. Now Gaitak technically is in the clear. Rick and his strange buddy, played by Sam Rockwell, finally get to meet up with Shratala and her husband at the end of this episode. Rick says that he is not planning on killing this guy, but he brought a gun to this place, and you know how he feels feels about this guy. So the friend, I can't remember his name now, it's just drawn a blank to me. All I can think of is him getting railed while dressed up like an Asian girl. But yeah, that friend is pretty sure that Rick has brought him along so he can be an accomplice in this crime. And because these two have such close history, we don't know exactly what, but they have some kind of close history, this guy goes along with it. But what's gonna happen? Is Rick gonna kill this guy, or is he just gonna have a stern talking to? That's something we're gonna have to wait until next week, it seems. And finally, jumping over to Lori and the three girls, things are not going well for them. They are starting to get at each other's throats. I mean, they have been gossiping and talking shit about each other since the first episode, but things really seem like they are starting to boil over. You can tell that there actually isn't really a lot in common between these three girls. It almost seems like these are three people who used to be friends but grew out of being friends, but they decide, let's go on this vacation together and see if we can recapture this friendship. But really, that friendship is not really there, and you can see that. These three girls, they almost seem like they don't like each other. Lori is pretty pissed off when she finds out from Kate that Jacqueline slept with Valentin. That's the guy that she was planning on sleeping with, and that's the guy that Jacqueline seemed to be pushing towards Lori. So Lori's like, well, wait a minute, why'd you push this fine Russian man towards me only to go fuck him yourself? That was Lori's Russian dick to be riding, and that woman took it all away. So Lori is not happy, and she spends most of this episode fuming, but it was pretty funny. You can tell that she is teetering on the edge of like a breakdown. Saxon jerked off by Lockley, Rick planning his revenge, Greg planning some mysterious party where he probably does not have good intentions, but we can all hope he does, or at the very least he has good food. These are just some of the noteworthy moments that I took from this episode. What did you guys think of this episode? I'm sure some people were totally disturbed to see the incest stuff, but also we can't act too surprised. It was being hinted at quite a bit ago. Put your thoughts on this episode in the comments, and if you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to hear more from me, subscribe to this channel. Later.